Hi, my name is Ashley Isbell, and I am a grad student at Sam Houston State University. I played 4 years of college softball here, and I was able to earn my master's in my 5th year as a grad student, and I was a graduate assistant coach for the softball team. In order to graduate, I had to do an independent study, and I did mine on the Yips. The Yips are classified as a motor phenomenon that consists of involuntary movements occurring in the course of the execution of focused, finely controlled, skilled motor behavior. There are two types of Yips. There's type 1 and type 2. This is my story. So I had played softball my entire life. Growing up, that was what I loved to do. Played for a tournament team called the Houston Power, and I was recruited by Sam Houston coach Bob Brock. I then continued to play after I received my scholarship, and I came here my freshman year at Sam. My freshman year, I was hit in the head, as you can see, by this girl, and I was diagnosed with a major concussion. I was out 8 weeks, which is a long time for a concussion. When I came back to play my sophomore year, I ended up not being able to throw the ball back to the pitcher. So I would receive the ball, and then I would go to throw, and I would stop. My body just would physically not throw the ball. So I was kind of confused. This had never happened to me. I was able to throw my entire life. That was not a problem for me. I could throw to second, I could throw to first, I could throw to third, I could throw anywhere else, but throwing the ball back to the pitcher was a struggle for me. I really realized it whenever there was a run on first or whenever it was a high-pressure situation. So then I go my sophomore year, and I'm continuing to play. I'm trying to fight through this thing where I can't throw, and I end up breaking my hand. So I broke my hand diving into third. At the time, I was kind of confused. I was wondering why I just could not catch a break with an injury. My sophomore year, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. So on top of 2 injuries and not being able to throw the ball to the pitcher, which is something I'd done my entire life, my best friend was sick. So in order for me to figure out how to play and continue to do the sport that I love, I went to a man named Robert Andrews at the Institute of Sports Psychology. He helped me work through my case of the Yips, and I was able to return back and play. So after this, I was presented with an independent study, and I was thinking, what a great time to be able to dip in more to the Yips and see why that happened to me, or if it's gone, or if it'll come back, and when I'm a coach, how I can help my players. So after that, I continued to play softball at Sam, and I played 4 years there. After my junior year, I had no injuries. My sophomore year, my senior year, I had no injuries either. So within my research, I looked at more of what causes the Yips. A lot of the research shows that there are 2 different types of Yips. Type 1 is a neurophysiological mechanisms. So these are different techniques and different mechanical issues in your skill. So whether it be golf, baseball, bowling, archery, it's big in things that are really fine motor skills, that have really fine attributes to their sport. So this is, these are different causes that can happen in a mechanism for neurophysiologically or type 1. Yes, regional pathophysiology, which is there's different regions in your brain that control motor skills, and something could be affecting that. In my case, that was part of my injury because I was kneed in the temple. So they thought that that could have been part of it, and that I would just take time and my throwing abilities would come back. That didn't happen. Excessive plasticity of the brain, which is you just wear yourself down with practicing that skill, which they thought maybe that was it. So maybe I was just throwing too much, which did not make sense to me because I had thrown my entire life. So these are just different physical things, really, that they have attributed to possibly causing the Yips in other athletes. My side was more the psychological mechanism. There are 2 different theories. There's the drive theories and the attentional theories that they have classified different parts of the Yips under. So mine was more, I was overloaded, I had anxiety, and I just that was my trigger. That was my body telling me, you are stressed, you need to analyze this and figure out what's going on. So signs and symptoms of the yips. Tensions throughout the wrist and arms, jerks, tremors, and it could be confused with choking, and you can have an increased heart rate. So mine was, I would get the ball back from the pitcher, I would go to throw here, and I would come right here and just stop. My arm would just physically not continue to go. So I would have to come back and I would just stop. And it looked like I was trying to double pump or fake a runner out. And so I remember we were at North Texas, and it happened in a big series. And a big tournament, and my shortstop was like, time, what is going on? So she called time and brought us all in, and I was like, Haley, I physically cannot throw the ball. I just cannot let it go. So I talked to my coach after the game, and she said, just throw it, just throw it. And after that, I was like, okay, that's right, just throw it. Maybe that will help. Maybe that will be what I need to just think. It's just nice and easy, keep it simple, and throw the ball.
There's a slider. Ground ball Zimmerman. Fair ball. And the ball's into right field, and this game is tied. Runner might have been safe at second, whether Ryan threw it or not. And when the ball goes into right field, the error allows Pena to score. And it's 4-4 here in the ninth.
For whatever reason, Danny Espinoza wasn't there. Sunflower seeds being thrown at you, that's a good thing.
I think Kurt got tired.
Ground ball to third. Zimmerman makes the throw wide, and that'll be a throwing error against Zimmerman. It looked like a routine play, and that's his second error in the last two nights.
But you see, he comes in, he fields it nicely, and he's got some time, moving a little bit, flips it over there, just doesn't get on top of the ball. Because of that, it runs away from LaRoche. Almost underhands it a little bit.
All right, so Ross, as a pitcher, now you're trying to pick.
Pena left side, Ryan Zimmerman. Throw right into the runner. And that might be another throwing error on Ryan Zimmerman. Drop down sidearm. And a first baseman can get hurt seriously on a play like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys on the right side of the Nats infield that are taking inventory on their right hands. Adam LaRoche, Danny Espinoza. Watch the glove go right into the runner. And that can't feel good for Adam LaRoche. He tried to stick his glove in there right as Pena's getting to first base. Contact, and couldn't hold on.
Ryan Zimmerman's third error. One in each game this weekend.
We do know that the smoothie place is still around behind home plate. Diamond Juices. That's a fine place for refreshment. Zimmerman's throw, and LaRoche is off the bag, and Ryan Zimmerman has another throwing error. He had a throwing error in every game in the loss to the Braves, the sweep by the Braves, and here that throwing motion, Tommy, the shoulder is still an issue.
One of the issues he has, if you can break it down and show it when he throws, he doesn't funnel. He takes the ball back and kind of slings it. And that's where he gets all the problems with his throwing. He's got a great first baseman over there. LaRoche did everything possible to try to come back with a tag, but that's going to be a problem this year.
So Ryan Zimmerman had 4 errors in 5 games. Here's another video of a professional golfer.
Practically, we want to give you a couple of examples of what he's been going through. This was on Friday on the tee at the par 4 18 as Kevin Na tries to get settled here. He's been working on a new pre-shot routine. You will see as many as 6 waggles in this address before he finally gets so frustrated with himself, he actually yells at himself.
Pull the trigger. Come on. Pull the trigger.
And that's when his caddy, Kenny Harm, steps in behind him, kind of gets him reset. There was another example of it yesterday at the par 4 14th, in contention. Not trying to pull the trigger at this top par 4. And this was a little different wrinkle to the pre-shot routine. After trying to pull the trigger, he's finally going to do what he did on his way to victory last year in Las Vegas. He actually makes a swing above the ball. And last night I asked him why it has been so difficult to pull the trigger this week at the Players.
Sometimes it's I just can't get comfortable and I got to back off, or I take a couple more extra waggles. But I'm trying to pull the trigger, and that's actually the most important thing I'm thinking about when I get over the ball. Is the swing thought is, I work on the setup and I know what I need to do with my backswing, but and the other thought is hit it, just pull the trigger. And sometimes it's good, I can pull it off in 2 waggles, and sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 6, sometimes I got to back off. So I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me.
And frustrating for the players that play with him, Johnny. Zach Johnson played with him yesterday, and it's not easy for him. He was so candid with the media yesterday, really opened up with them about these deep.
So Kevin was physically telling himself, just pull the trigger, pull the trigger. That was something I felt like I was telling myself. I was like, just throw the ball. Just throw the ball. And it wasn't working. That wasn't the answer. It wasn't the fact that I forgot how to throw. It wasn't the fact that I was like, oh, that's right, I'm forgetting. I don't want to throw the ball. I just don't want to throw it today. Okay, so here are different practices that could help athletes recover from a case of the Yips or work through. It's really not something that just goes away. Even now as a grad assistant, I find myself when I do get to catch or do get to play and throw, that I do still find myself feeling like I'm going to have the Yips. And it's just something now that I just have learned to work through different types of these practices. Acupuncture actually is something that they have found to help extremely if it's a stress situation, if it's something that you're just real tense and you just don't know how to get your stress out. What they do is they just do an acupuncture procedure as you're picturing yourself with your Yips. So if you're golf, it's as you're picturing yourself on a putt. If you're throwing, it's as you're picturing yourself with the throwing error or with the throwing problem. So you're picturing yourself, and that tension is obviously going to come. And the acupuncture releases that tension, so you can feel that release, and that when that comes, you can know where to go with that release. And they can do it as many sessions as it takes. Sensory tricks are different things that you kind of see more in golf, where they will wear a glove, or they'll replace the glove hand, or just little things that people would consider more superstition, but it's more of them trying to figure out mechanically and physically what they can do to help themselves continue to play in their career. Mental imagery, it's called solution-focused imagery, and this is what Robert and I went through with my Yips. So I went to him, obviously frustrated and crying and just letting it all out there that I don't know what to do. I did not know what was happening. I did not know how I would fix it. It was my career that was going to end. I was not going to be able to play the sport that I loved and that I worked really hard for to get into college, and that I was a starter at. It wasn't like I was trying to work my way in. I was a starter. I was a 4-year starter at Sam. And so what we did is he had me hold 2 electrodes that vibrated in my hands, and I listened to a beeping, and it went from left to right and left to right along with the vibrations. So all the vibrations would be on my left side, and then they would go to my right, and they would go to my left, and they would go to my right. And this whole time I'm picturing my concussion and picturing any injuries that I felt like were still impairing my life and still that were impacting me. So I pictured my concussion. I pictured the girl coming in, her taking me out, as you saw. It was a hard hit. And then I pictured the next play that happened. What happened was our first baseman had received a ball and was throwing it home directly to me, and she threw it, the ball at the runner and hit the runner in the mouth and knocked her out cold. And so for me, in my personality, I felt like that was sort of my fault. I felt like that girl's possible ending of her career was my fault. And I had that weighing on me, as well as my concussion and my problem that I was going to go through. So after my concussion that I was picturing in my head, Robert said, okay, change it. Change the outcome. So what I ended up doing was, with the electrodes still going back and forth, I changed the outcome of me getting the runner out, and she didn't come anywhere near me. And then I changed the outcome of the play with the first baseman, and she didn't hit the girl, and the girl was out. So there were 2 positive outcomes that I had changed from my negative view. This whole time, these electrodes are going left to right, and those are resetting the functions in your brain. They're just kind of getting your brain back on track, as if it was a train, just getting it back right on its steady circle that it goes through. So that's what we did, and then it got to where he asked me, he was like, okay, what is your anxiety level? And I was like, all right, it's still a 10, like it's still high, but I went and saw him about 8 more times, and by the last time, he said, okay, Ashley, what's your anxiety level? And I said, it's a 2, and I was like, wow, I just never thought that that would happen for me. I never thought that I was going to overcome this, and I was a big doubter. I was just thinking I could not throw a ball. Who can't throw the ball? How easy is that to do? In the game of softball and baseball, how easy is that to do? It's what you learn. So for me, I had high feeling of doubt before, and leaving Robert, using these mental imagery tricks and mental imagery processes, that really helped me to be able to return back to playing softball. So thank you for your time.